Welcome, everybody. This is Michael from Genuine Health, and today we're going to go through a quick 30-minute talk on how to help beat cold season with Genuine Health. So before we get started, just a really quick background on myself. I've been with the company for about 2 years now, and I work in the product development department. Before that, I completed my bachelor's and my master's of science studying human health and nutritional science at the University of Guelph. And that for me made for a pretty seamless transition into the organization, in large part due to this definition of health that the company has embraced, really going back to its founding. And that is looking at as health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So there are a couple of things here to focus on. First thing is having that more holistic view of health. So looking beyond just physical, looking at mental and looking at social well-being, but also looking to treat the root cause of many of the nutritional related problems and challenges that we face as a society today, and not just trying to promote band-aid type solutions. So when we look at our core values, we really do believe that what we do matters. We believe that what we put in our bottle matters. We believe that how we treat our people matter, how what we do for the planet matters, and that empowering you with education matters. This final point too, I think, is one that it kind of reinforces. If we really do believe that we are putting products out there that have the potential for benefit, and that we've been following the research, and that we're being very careful and very conscious and deliberate about the products that we formulate, then we want to be able to communicate that to the consumer and empower the consumer with as much knowledge as possible, so that they could really realize the benefits from these different products. So when we also look at living our core values as a company, we were actually the first natural health food company to become a certified B Corp. And this is essentially a third-party verification that ensures a company is being recognized for more than just profits. So there's a lot we can get into here, but we'll keep it very high level. And it's just ensuring that our mission is focused beyond just bottom line and beyond just profit, but we're looking at giving back to our community and engaging in charitable initiatives and charitable causes that we find to be important. When we look at our product development process as a whole, it's pretty much encapsulated on this slide here. And it starts with the research. It starts with diving into the science and finding research-proven ingredients and research-proven dosages. Once we find those, we then want to be very rigorous about our ingredient selection to make sure that we are putting the highest quality ingredients possible into our products. And after that is completed, then we enter into the testing stage, which is essentially that we want to look at objective quantitative data that guarantees essentially that we've followed these steps from start to finish, and that it's not just talk, but we can actually prove it on paper. And we'll pivot now into our conversation for today, which is around immunity supplements in particular. So when we think about immunity supplements, we tend to think about vitamin C, we tend to think of oil of oregano, zinc. These could all be very, very useful, but we typically take these when we already start to feel sick, and these tend to be treating the cause, but not the symptom of the problem. So when we kind of zoom out, what we see is that one supplement in particular could help Canadians save an average of 84,000 courses of antibiotics, 500,000 sick days, $9 million in direct healthcare costs, and $100 million in lost productivity. So I'm sure many of you have guessed what this supplement is, and it's no surprise that the answer is a probiotic. The main reason why this is no surprise is because when we look at the data, we know that anywhere up to 80% of your immune system is actually found in the gut. So what that tells us is that any therapeutic intervention, any supplement intervention that targets the gut and targets your microbiome is very likely to also have a beneficial impact on your immune system as a whole. So the human microbiome is a very fascinating and complex ecosystem. It's highly diverse. We have bacteria that exist both in and on our bodies. And most importantly, we exist with these bacteria in harmony. So they really are a community, and we benefit from them as much as they benefit from us. These microbes work hand in hand with our immune system, but even beyond that, they are extremely and directly implicated in a lot of different health conditions and health endpoints. And that really shows that our microbiome is extremely central to our overall well-being. A few of the areas that have been shown to be influenced by our microbiome beyond just the gut include cognitive function, include allergies, healthy skin, mood, immunity, and many more. But unfortunately, when our microbiome is damaged, which we're seeing become more and more prevalent, specifically in North America, we tend to see some negative health consequences that result from this. And The term here that we use to describe this damage and this lack of diversity is dysbiosis, which is essentially saying that the microbial ecosystem is out of harmony. So there's an imbalance. There are potentially too many pro-inflammatory species, potentially too little anti-inflammatory species, but we don't even want to focus just on the pure numbers. It's about the synergies and having that healthy balance of bacteria so that they could interact with each other and keep each other in check and just promote that overall healthy ecosystem. So unfortunately, when we're seeing this dysbiosis, when we see this lack of diversity, we're also seeing it correlate with reduced mental outlook, skin conditions, poor digestion, autoimmune conditions, irritable bowel conditions, and many other issues that we really do want to tackle. So this again gets back to the idea that it's not just about numbers, it's also about the balance. How could we implement a dietary regime? How could we implement a supplementation regime that is not just going to focus on improving and increasing the quantity of good bacteria and suppressing bad bacteria, but promoting a flourishing, healthy, dynamic gut ecosystem, because that really is what we're targeting in terms of realizing these benefits. So the good news here actually is that we have a pretty clear understanding of what some of the major factors are that impair our microbiome and things that we could do to help improve it. So it's not that we're without information here, and it's not that we don't have a strategy. So when we look at the usual suspects, we find psychological factors are strongly implicated with dysbiosis and with reduced microbial diversity. Digital addiction is a major factor, and this is actually for a couple of different reasons. One of them could just be that when we're spending time on devices, we're not getting outdoors, we're not getting exercise, we're not having that connection with nature, which is also extremely important for our microbiomes. Toxin consumption can be a factor. Diet is likely the most important factor, I would argue, and overuse of antibiotics can also be a factor. But the good news is that there are things we could do. We can influence the health of our microbiome, particularly our gut microbiome. And this is where Genuine Health as a company has really focused our efforts going back quite a while now, is that we want to provide supplements and we want to provide information and knowledge that helps our consumers target directly the health of their microbiome and restore this lost diversity that is so important in all these different areas. When we look at the experts' view on probiotics, this is an area that we do like to focus on a couple anecdotes here, because what we see among the scientific community is a pretty broad consensus, which is extremely important for any field. You want to have that broad consensus that not just that probiotics can be helpful in certain conditions and for certain people who may have different gut issues that they're dealing with, but really the experts are saying that probiotics can be beneficial for basically anybody at any stage of your life, because your microbiome is always strongly implicated in your day-to-day well-being. It's always going to be something that we want to take care of and we want to focus on no matter what our life stage is at. And particularly if we look at children too, we know that the developing microbiome is so important. If we could target it in those first few years, it really does have a far-reaching impact on the health of our microbiome later on in life. So there really is no time and no situation where it isn't worth targeting our microbiome. And when we look at probiotics in particular, we find that probiotics can directly support immune pathways. So our gut microbes and immune cells are in constant communication. And when we talk about supporting a healthy immune defense, the bottom line that we want to encourage is that we want to allow our immune system to be very specific and very targeted in terms of what it goes after. We don't want to talk about overactivating it. We don't want to talk about suppressing it necessarily, but we want to talk about improving its communication and improving its coordination so that it can target a potential threat and neutralize it as quickly as possible. And that is exactly what the microbes in our gut play a role in. They play a role in coordinating our immune defense. They reinforce and modulate some of our frontline defenders, including our natural killer cells, and this allows the body to specifically and more effectively target a potential threat before it has time to do damage. And as we talked about too, a healthy gut ecosystem plays a critical role in the immune system for kids too, so it's not just for adults. So if we look at this research, and it could be quite compelling, and it may lead us to want to target our gut health and help support our gut health, but probiotics are everywhere and there are a bunch of different formulas out there, and there may seem to be no significant difference from one brand to the next. So what we wanted to talk about really quickly is just what do we focus on in our probiotics? How do we try to make them different from what's on the market, but how do we try to make sure that they replicate as closely as possible the most cutting edge research surrounding gut health and surrounding the microbiome. So when we look at the competitive landscape, we find that a lot of probiotics are originally isolated from animals. They may contain single to multiple allergens. They might lack humidity control mechanisms, and they typically are largely lactobacilli based. Now, when we get into our process, here is what we're looking for at a top-down level is we know how important diversity is. We know how important diversity is to our internal gut microbiome, and we want to do everything we can to help mimic that diversity in our probiotics. So for all of our adult line of probiotics, we have 15 balanced strains. So we use 15 different strains. These are human strains, meaning that they are found naturally inside the human microbiome. And we try to put them at dosages that are balanced. So we don't want to load up on any one or two different strains because we know how important it is to allow these bacteria to work in synergy and to have these amazing benefits that they have through communicating with each other and through performing all these unique benefits that we get with a diverse ecosystem. So we take that formula on paper, we want to put that into our capsule, we want to grow it with care and be very careful so that we're not damaging the bacteria and that we're putting them in a position to succeed, essentially. We then want to, we put it through a triple purification process, which is to remove any potential allergens and to, again, make sure that there's no allergens or contaminants that could damage the actual bacteria or that could be toxic to us when we're consuming it. We then want to guarantee the CFU count, so make sure that at expiry, you're getting the guaranteed promised amount of live bacteria that we say the product will contain on the package, and then making sure that it has a targeted delivery system. So the GI tract can be very harsh, especially when we consume anything. It has to go through the stomach first, and this is a very acidic, a very harsh environment. So it's not always the easiest to keep probiotics, which are very fragile, to keep them alive and to make sure that they reach the gut intact so that they could have their benefit. So we came up with a unique targeted delivery system to make sure that we could do just that. And here's our lineup as a whole. We have our 2 advanced gut health probiotic. You can call them the daily care lineup. So these are at different dosages. We have a 15 and a 50 billion CFU dosage. One of them is just more for day-to-day maintenance. Another one, it has a little bit of an extra strength to it, having 50 billion CFU. We then have a women's AGH 50 product, which has 15 strains that have been specifically chosen to help support a women's gut health. And we also have a women's UTI product, which is very similar to the women's daily formula, but we added in cranberry extract to help prevent against urinary tract infections. And then our newest addition is the Advanced Gut Health Probiotic Kids, which is a 5 billion CFU product. And this is actually a chewable capsule, which we formulated to be especially beneficial at supporting microbiome development at a young age. So first we have our 15 and our 50. These both have 15 strains which have been chosen to mimic the human gut flora. They are guaranteed potency. So that is at expiry. They are clean and toxin-free, and they contain a unique plastic-free delayed release capsule, and this gives it its targeted delivery. They're also 100% vegan, soy-free, gluten-free, and non-GMO. Moving into our Advanced Gut Health Probiotic Women's Daily product. So this one it has the same story that we have with our AGH 15 and our AGH 50, but we've specifically formulated it to help support vaginal and help support immune health. So we have 15 different strains. We have all the key characteristics that you have with AGH 50 and AGH 15, but we picked 4 strains here that have been specifically shown to be beneficial for women's health in particular, and we increased their dosages and we played with their dosages to make sure that we get that research back dosage and that you can add in that little bit of extra benefit that is more specific for women's health. So really quickly, we have Lactobacillus fermentum, which has been shown to help decrease vaginal pH. We have Lactobacillus acidophilus, which has been shown to provide antimicrobial support against uropathogens. Lactobacillus caseri, which has been shown to help provide overall vaginal microbiome support, and Lactococcus lactis, which has just been helped to show support for overall healthy skin. And lastly, we have our Advanced Gut Health Probiotic UTI. So here we have the same women's daily formula, but we added in cranberry extract. And this cranberry extract in particular, it's rich in a polyphenol called PAX, and these naturally are found in cranberries, and they've been clinically shown to help reduce the incidence of urinary tract infection. So there's some really great research there, and then we were able to find a really cool partner grown in Quebec. It's grown, harvested, processed, dried, milled, so farm to finish, produced in Quebec, and every lot is standardized to a particular amount of these proanthocyanidins. So these are these packs, these are the active ingredient that we're really targeting and that have been shown to be beneficial for preventing UTI. So essentially, using the standardization process, we're guaranteeing that we're getting a very specific dosage of these and that we're replicating the dosage that you do find in the literature. And then we have our Advanced Gut Health Probiotic Kids product. So this one, we have 7 balanced strains, and they've been specifically chosen to help support a child's gut health. They have the same clean and toxin-free story. But here we actually have a bit of a different delivery system. So it's a chewable tablet, and we use this new unique honeycomb technology. And it's basically just helps protect the bacteria both during the manufacture of the product and then during consumption, and helping protect those bacteria all the way to the gut. So we talked about how difficult it is to protect these bacteria even in a capsule, but especially if it's in a tablet, there's even more that it has to deal with. It's getting chewed, it's getting swallowed. There is just more that it has to encounter. So we really want to make sure that we have some sort of new technology, that we're doing something that's going to actually protect the bacteria and give them a chance to make it to the gut alive. Because if we just consume it in a conventional tablet, there's a very good chance that a lot of those bacteria don't survive all the way to the gut. And another interesting benefit too that we get from this product is that by chewing a probiotic, you're actually also directly targeting the oral microbiome, which has been shown in kids to be very important. So by improving the oral microbiome and by chewing a probiotic, especially Lactobacillus reuteri, it's been shown in children to help reduce oral plaque and gingivitis scores. So this is a bit of a secondary benefit. It's not necessarily the #1 target of the product, but it's really cool to think that by coming into contact with these beneficial bacteria in places other than just the gut, there are a lot of different and unique benefits that we can get. And it just goes to show how important bacteria are across the entire body. So zooming out again and looking at why we formulate these products and how we formulate these products. When we look at the research on synergy, how important it is in our microbiome, and specifically the efficacy of a multi-strain formula versus an individual strain formula, we find that in 75% of studies that looked at multi-strain versus individual strain, the multi-strain formula was found to be more effective. So what this is telling us is that even if 2 products have the exact same CFU count, by using a multi-strain formula and by emphasizing diversity, those are the probiotics and those are the formulas that are actually found to be even more effective, regardless of the overall dosage. And looking back at our lineup, these are the consistent features across the board. All the strains are of human origin. They're all vegan. They're all gluten-free, guaranteed non-GMO, acid, bile-resistant, and room temperature stable. And then our finishing touch that we put on it is our encapsulation technology, and then the blister pack that we put for our capsule. So the actual capsule first, this is our tough and acid resistant delayed release capsule. And as we talked about, timing is everything. So we wanted a capsule that is going to bypass the harsh stomach and the harsh acidic environment that it has to deal with on the way to the gut, and that is going to release and deliver these probiotics directly at the gut. And this capsule has been proven to deliver up to 10 times the live bacteria to the gut compared to a standard veggie capsule. And then we put these inside our shelf-stable blister pack, which allows the product to not require refrigeration, and which also just helps make sure that there is absolutely no moisture that will get into this product, because we do know that moisture can be quite damaging to bacteria, and you really want to do everything you can to make sure that the product is protected from that. So what makes Advanced Gut Health Probiotics stand apart? We have our superior multi-strain formula with third-party verified strains. We have a highly controlled process for looking at temperature and humidity, making sure that the strains are triple clean to remove any toxins and any weak cells, and make sure that we end up with a very clean, stable, and pure probiotic blend. We then have our targeted delivery of healthier, hardier strains using our delayed release capsule, delivering up to 10 times the bacteria to the gut. And then our final touch is our shelf-stable blister pack to make sure that the CFU count is guaranteed both at production and at expiry. But don't take it from us. Here we have a couple anecdotes that we like to feature, and this really goes back to our core philosophy and our core goal as a company, which is basically that, we look at the research, we think that there's a lot of interesting findings that really should have a lot of real world impact on our well-being. So that's what we're targeting by doing the research-based formulas and research-proven dosages and the ingredient testing and the finished product testing. All we're trying to do is make sure that we're replicating that research in our final product, because that is how we can optimize our chance that the consumer will actually feel the difference. So as a company, that is our goal. That is how we measure our success, is basically, are we successful in carrying that research into our final product, and are the consumers actually feeling the difference? So we have a couple anecdotes here, which I won't go through them individually, but this really is what we're looking for, and it's very, very inspiring, and it really helps us feel like we're on the right track and giving products that people can actually take and they notice it. The results are realized and they just feel that much better. So with that, I will take a pause and open this up to any questions. So please feel free to ask anything that came to mind. And otherwise, I just wanted to thank everybody for attending and hope you all have an awesome day. Thank you.